Welcome everyone to the July 26th regular meeting of the Pittsburgh Regional Transit. I would ask for everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silent reflection. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Begin the meeting with a roll call. Member Berginger, sorry.
Present.
Member Fawn.
Present.
Member McClenny.
Present.
Member Shuker.
Present.
Member Ms. Gorski.
Present.
Member Totten.
Present.
Member Doyle.
Here.
Member Piscatano. Member Brewster.
Here.
Member Turbin.
Here.
And can you let us know when Member Piscatano, I believe he's going to be on line when he is available. Can you let us know? Thank you. The first order of business is the approval of the minutes from the June 28, 2024 regular meeting. I ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Our next item will be our report from our Chief Executive Officer, Catherine Kellerman. Catherine?
Thank you,
Thank you.
Acting Chair Liptak. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. May I please have a moment of silence for the following employees who've passed since last we met. Operators Glenn Greer, James Jackson, and John Schorsch. Service person John Ziegler. Dispatcher Charles Folan. Route foreman James Tarbuck. Repair persons Michael Platek, Edward Hrapchik, Merle Weir Jr., and Joanne Wilmer. Mechanic Robert Baker. Transit Police Officer Robert Resco, and Customer Service Representative Robert Ginda. Thank you. Well, let me start off with happy birthday, Americans with Disabilities Act, looking good at 34. Today is the 34th anniversary of the ADA. I was a transit baby when this came out. Like, we still had urban mass transit administration manuals to figure out what to do. And there's the paratransit manual was life-changing when it came out. Feels clunky now, but it helps to remember there was a time when we needed to require folks to be able to have access to transportation 24 hours in advance. It's unwieldy to schedule, it says it's that, but the fundamental change that we have seen by starting off with accessibility. I picked my kiddo up from science camp yesterday, and there was a mom walking by talking to her 4 or 5-year-old, and the 4 or 5-year-old said, why is there a ramp here? And the mom was saying, well, it's not fair to build a place and some people can't come to it. I would never have heard that in the 90s. Like, that never would have been a kid's conversation. So lots of work still to do, but good looking for 34. So just wanted to start off with happy birthday to the ADA. 2 things to talk about today. Our board is going to consider approving a public comment window, not the program itself, but a public comment window for a new pass program that we would grow ridership, make transit more affordable, and offer landlords, secondary, post-secondary schools, employers, and other entities more value for residents, students, staff, and employees. Most importantly, it would remove a barrier to transportation, and isn't that what it's about, is removing friction. In 2023, why does that feel so long ago? And it was just like 7 months. It just feels really long ago. We launched a limited scope and time universal pass pilot study through generous support from the Heinz Endowment. And after an application process, we had a total of 113 passes to 4 employers, enabling their employees to experience the benefits of transit whenever they wanted to get to it. Through our Ready to Ride application, which is our phone-based app, we were able to analyze travel patterns. I will tell you, from a data perspective, the information we can get is really fantastic. We don't know who you are, but we can see where that pass is coming and going. So we also combine this with pre and post survey data to get an idea of how transit's being used. Not only did people who had the passes say they really liked them and they were very valuable, they really used them as well. Employers involved in the program said there was a lot of enthusiasm and a strong desire to continue the program. So to ensure a comprehensive understanding and better application, we brought in an outside consultant to look at the pilot findings, help us be smart about our information, pull it all together, and we are coming out to begin a public comment process in August. It will wrap in October, which point we'll come to the board with a recommendation to implement a universal pass program starting January 1st. Now, what does this mean? It means a participating employer, in participating apartment complex, housing, just any kind of entity that's covered will guarantee access for everybody in that building, that employment location, et cetera, at a discounted price. So instead of $97.50 a month, it would be $28 a month. We'll come back every 6 months to review. If more people using, the price goes up. If fewer are using, the price goes down. But what does this mean? It means you as an employer say, I guarantee all 100 of my employees will be able to use this pass. You buy it deeply discounted and your employee gets a pass. What's not to love? I'm sure that there are a lot of ways that employers or landlords can decide how they slice and dice. Is it completely free? Does that person pay part of it? Our caveat remains constant. No one can sell the pass for more than they pay for it. So if you are getting that pass for $28, you cannot ask your employee for $35. We won't support that program. So that discount gets passed on at the minimum, and the goal is that this is provided at no cost to the folks who are being able to take advantage of transit whenever they want to go. So we are really excited about this universal access. Employers large and small, any kind of entity coming together. So August 12th will be the kickoff window for public comment. Everybody, yay. I'm not getting a yay. This is so hard with mixed meetings. A big public hearing on September 12th to wrap it up. Again, our public hearings are, we stand up at the front, we receive the comment. If folks don't want to be at the hearing on the 12th, you can submit written comments online or in person ahead of time. If you're booked on the 12th, go do what you need to do. All comments that come in are treated equally. They all come into part of the record, and then we will come back to our board with a recommendation, which will be to implement this for a January date. So I'm really excited about that. I had no idea that I would grow up to be excited about past programs, but here we are. It's a cool thing to be excited about. Other equally exciting information is new rail cars. So we are talking about how to finance new rail cars. They are not cheap. They don't come together very quickly. Our current fleet of rail vehicles has been serving us for an average of 33 years. We have cars that came into service when Borderline by Madonna was a top 10 hit. More significantly, When Doves Cry was a top 10 hit. And it's gone, I've been here long, I've been, definitely in transit, but I've been here long enough that people don't just say, whoa, that song's old, to saying, what's that song? So that and my joints remind me that I have been doing this for a while. Our rail cars are in fantastic condition for their age, resisting the urge for more jokes. That's a huge testament to our maintenance folks and our transportation folks that have absolutely focused on keeping our cars clean and reliable and providing the best experience possible. But it is time for new cars. New cars are cost effective. They have so many cool features built in, safety features, accessibility features. A new fleet can be entirely low floor, so we can have everybody getting level boarding. So many benefits that come in, but again, benefits are not cheap. So we are talking about various pricing ways to finance this. And we are asking the board for approval to evaluate and start doing homework on various TIFIA loans, very popular throughout transit, which can help us finance when the money is needed. Historically, we put all the rail money up in the beginning of the process, and we spend it over 7 years. $700 million sitting in the piggy bank is not our best use of your resources. So TIFIA loan allows us to get the money when we need it, so we can maximize other things we're doing with that money in the meantime. Also lowers the amount of money we pay in the aggregate because we're not paying as much on a bond, better interest rates. Did I get that right? Dominique Brown, our CFO, is saying, yes, I got it right. We are committed to ensuring our new cars will offer better accessibility and amenities. It will be a very fun process of kicking the tires on prototypes and getting information with our communities. That new rail car smell, right? We're still in the very early stages of this. It's still very preliminary, but we have to be able to lock down financing to be serious about this project. We're asking board for consideration there. And one more time, happy birthday, ADA. If there's no questions, Chair Liptak, that will conclude my remarks.
Thank you. Thank you, Catherine. I want to recognize that Member Representative Piscatano is on the line for the record. I'd also like to reference that I never thought I would get to the point where Madonna and Prince were considered the old lives. And thank you, Catherine, for making me realize my age again today. Our next item of business will be the report of the Performance and Oversight Committee. Member Ms. Gorski, thank you for acting as chair of that meeting during this last committee session.
You're welcome, and good morning, everyone. The Performance Oversight Committee met last week, and I have 4 resolutions for the board's consideration. The committee first reviewed 9 procurement items and determined the bids to be in accordance with PRT's procurement policies and procedures and prices to be fair and reasonable. The Performance Oversight Committee recommends that the award of bids listed in the resolution for the total amount of approximately $9.5 million. My fellow board members, I respectfully request the board approve the resolution.
Thank you. I will ask for a motion for approval.
So moved.
Okay, so, thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Now, before presenting the next resolution, staff updated the committee with a tentative schedule of upcoming solicitations, which we appreciated that report. The next resolution I have for you today is seeking authorization to extend and amend agreements for investigative services. In June 2020, PRT's board authorized PRT to enter into agreements with a pool of firms to provide these services. The Performance Oversight Committee wishes to exercise the second option year, extending the agreements with the firms listed in the resolution to September 30th, 2025, with no increases to the total not to exceed amount. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
Thank you. With that, I'll ask for motion of approval.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next resolution is seeking authorization to award a construction contract for the Mount Washington Tunnel Rail and Pavement Replacement Project. Bid documents were prepared and publicly advertised, and 4 bids were received. It was determined that the bid of Mascaro Construction Company LP was the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, meeting the requirements. The Performance Oversight Committee recommends awarding the contract to the Mascaro Construction Company LP in the amount of $16,146,035, subject to completing all pre-award requirements. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
Thank you. With that, I'll ask for a motion of approval. Thank you, Joe. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Sorry. Thank you. Motion carries.
The final resolution I have for the board's consideration is seeking authorization to extend and amend agreements with the pool firms to provide information technology consultant and support services. At its July 2020 meeting, PRT's board entered into a 4-year agreement with a pool of firms listed in the resolution to provide these services in various categories. The agreements also contain the option to extend the agreements up to 2 additional years at the sole discretion of PRT. The Performance Oversight Committee wishes to authorize amendments with the firms to extend the agreements for 1 year to September 30th, 2025, with no increases to the total not to exceed amount. My fellow board members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
So moved.
Oh, I'll ask for the motion, but I'll take that as the motion. Okay, thank you.
Second.
Thank you for the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Additionally, it was noted at the meeting that a resolution to enter into agreements to provide legislative consulting services was held into September. Unless there are any questions, this concludes my report.
Thank you. Thank you, Member Ms. Gorski. The next report will be from the Planning and Stakeholder Relations Committee. Interim Chair Turman did chair that committee for us. I have agreed to read her report because she's not able to, even though she's participating completely from the meeting. So I will do that for Ms. Turman, but just not as well as she would. So thank you and good morning, everyone. This Planning and Stakeholder Relations Committee did meet last week, and there's a few items to report. I don't believe any actions, though. So the Director of Transit Scheduling for Philip St. Pierre presented the proposed October 24th schedule changes. The changes are proposed for October 2024 service adjustments and include the routing changes on 9, including new downtown routing for a half a dozen bus routes, extending the G2 to Penn Station and for better connectivity to the East Busway, and adding the subway local route to support upcoming rail projects. Also included are running time adjustments on nearly 40 routes, frequently changing on 5 routes, and addition of trips on about half a dozen routes to address crowding during peak service, and among other changes. I also realize I'm not doing this as well as our former member who is with us today in the audience would have done. So I know, I'm sorry. The next is from the Allegheny County Transit Council. The Allegheny County Transit Council did meet on July 24th. Sean Kuzinski, the Deputy Chief of Police for the Port Authority Police, gave an overview of the police department. Philip St. Pierre presented the October service changes, and the next scheduled meeting for that organization is on September 25th. The Committee on Accessible Transportation, lastly, they met on July 11th. The Manager of Expansion and Project, Justin Begat, provided the committee with an update on the Glasgow Station project. Manager of Railcar Programs, Mike Knuckle, provided an update on PRT's procurement on new rail cars. Deputy Chief of Equity and Inclusion, AJ Conway, presented the draft of the priority access seating policy and sought the group's feedback. The next scheduled meeting for that group would be September 5th. And with that, that concludes the report from the Planning and Stakeholders Relations Committee. Next, I'd like to move on to the report of Finance Committee, which Member Representative Piscatano interim chaired. Member Piscatano, are you ready?
Yes, can you hear me?
It's perfect. Go right ahead.
Good morning, Chair and fellow board members. The Finance Committee met on Thursday, July 18th, and I have 5 items, including 4 resolutions to report. The first resolution seeks authorization to enter into a contribution agreement with the City of Pittsburgh. In July of 2023, PRT staff presented the Wilkinsburg-Rushton Station Area Plan to the Planning and Stakeholder Relations Committee. The overall purpose of this plan was to improve access, safety, and comfort at the Wilkinsburg Station on the East Busway. The City of Pittsburgh, subject to approval by City Council, has expressed interest in contributing up to $100,000 to support the equitable transit-oriented development project towards the final design and construction of a new Rushton station between North Braddock Avenue and Rushton Avenue along the busway. The Finance Committee recommends PRT complete negotiations and into a contribution or other appropriate agreement with the City of Pittsburgh. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
Thank you. With that, I'll ask for a motion of approval.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you. The next resolution seeks authorization to extend and amend an agreement for utility consulting and administrative support services. In June 2021, PRT's board authorized the award of agreement to Eric Ryan Corporation to provide these services for an initial term of 3 years for a total not to exceed amount of $187,200 to be allocated on an as-needed basis through specific work orders. The agreement also contains 2 one-year option years to be exercised by PRT in its sole discretion. The Finance Committee recommends extending the agreement 1 additional year through August 31st, 2025, and to increase the total authorization not to exceed amount of the agreement by $68,000. I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
Thank you. With that, I'll ask for motion of approval.
Motion.
Thank you, Joe. May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. The next resolution seeks authorization to proceed to public comment period for fiscal year 2025 proposed fare change policy. PRT received a small grant from the Heinz Endowments to conduct a limited scope and time universal pass pilot study with a group of 4 employers with a total of 113 participant employees. The initial results from the pilot showed that the passes were highly valued, increased transit use, and influenced job choice, with the participating employers eager to continue the program beyond the pilot. PRT is now considering the implementation of a permanent universal pass program called the PRT Pass, which would be made available to employers, secondary and post-secondary schools not eligible to participate in PRT's University Pass program, residential apartment and other multi-unit housing unit owners, and operators or similar eligible entities where riders commute with regular frequency with over 10 eligible riders. The Finance Committee recommends that the board approves proceeding with the proposed public comment period, including a formal public hearing. I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
Thank you. With that, I'll ask for a motion of approval.
So moved.
Second.
Everyone is excited about this.
Yes.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The final resolution seeks authorization to issue a letter of interest to the U.S. Department of Treasury for Transportation Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act loan, or TIFIA loan, for the planned new light rail vehicle procurement. PRT's current light rail vehicles range in age from 20 to almost 40 years old. An analysis was performed to determine the pros and cons of seeking to further extend the life of its current fleet versus engaging in a process to procure a new fleet of LRVs to replace them. Based upon that analysis, PRT determined it would be more cost-effective and beneficial to procure a new fleet. To help finance the procurement of a new fleet, PRT engaged its financial advisor to assess PRT's options. Based upon this assessment, the financing plan most advantageous to PRT to limit its incurred interest expense is pursuing a TIFIA loan. PRT intends to seek a total amount not to exceed $390 million for the TIFIA loan. The Finance Committee recommends authorizing PRT to issue the TIFIA loan of interest to secure the loan. I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
Thank you. With that, I'll ask for a motion of approval.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. For my last item, following is a review of the June 2024 financial results presented at last week's meeting. The financial results presented were unaudited fiscal year-end results. It was reported that total operating income for the month of June was under budget by $1.4 million due to lower passenger and access revenue. Total expenses for the month of June were below budget by $11 million due to lower wages and benefits and purchase services expense. Total operating income is $2.3 million below budget through June due to lower passenger revenue, access, and advertising income. Total expenses through June are $44 million lower than budgeted due to primarily to vacancies. However, every expense category was lower than budgeted. Total subsidy is $13.1 million higher than last fiscal year due to increased assistance from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and preventative maintenance invoicing. As of June 2024, the total remaining federal stimulus balance is $10.2 million of CRR-SAA funds, and those are expected to be invoiced once year-end accruals are recorded. Finally, it was reported that PRT ended the month of June with approximately $404.8 million in cash reserves. Unless there are any questions or comments, that concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Member Representative Piscatano. With that, that concludes our committee meeting reports, and we'll move on to new business. I do have one item for new business, the appointment of the nominating committee. Given the board changeovers, we need to have nominations and a vote on new leadership for the board. So with that, I'd like to appoint the nominating committee, and I want to thank in advance those members who have agreed to take part. Chairing the nominating committee will be Stephanie Turman. Members of the committee will also be Allie Doyle and Lori Mrskorsky. Again, thank you, Chair Turman, and then members Doyle and Mrskorsky for agreeing to be on the committee. It is our hope that they will bring back recommendations and a slate of candidates for consideration at the September 2024 board meeting. Thank you. And with that, we move on to public comment. Our first individual to be for public comment was Andrew Hussein. Is Is Andrew here or is he online? I didn't see Andrew here. Andrew Hussein, Andrew, are you online? It's your turn to speak. See if Andrew's on. He usually is. If Andrew pops on, will you let us know? We'll move on to the next person. Oh, he's not on? Okay, thank you. Ralph Williams? Ralph planned to be online, or I don't think Ralph's.
He was supposed to be on.
Okay, thank you. Ralph Williams, public comment? Ralph Williams? Okay, we'll just make a note before public comment ends, if you can let us know if either one of them are there. Lisa Grissom? Hello. How are you? Thank you for joining us.
Do I get extra time since people didn't? No.
Well, you know, we love everyone's comments, but we have to be fair, but we do enjoy when you do come, so thank you.
Hello, my name is Elisa Grishman and I live in Uptown. On Monday morning, I spent over 45 minutes sitting in the pouring rain at a stop that used to have 8 different bus routes pass by. As I waited on the sidewalk without any sort of shelter, sitting in my $34,000 not waterproof wheelchair, I called the doctor I'd been waiting to see for 3 months for a very painful condition to ask if I could get rescheduled. But they couldn't get me in again until January. So I waited and I waited and I waited and I waited. When a bus finally arrived, it was part of a clump of 4, including 2 of the same route, which is a problem that was supposed to be solved through last October's service changes. PRT's decision to suddenly cut half the routes running through Uptown was, to put it bluntly, a really bad one. Of the top 25 bus agencies in the country, Pittsburgh is the only one to see its ridership drop between 2023 and 2024, and it's not hard to see why. 57% of the loss in ridership came from cuts to the 61D and the 71's A, C, and D. Eliminating half the buses that come through Uptown was an insult to an already disadvantaged community. We have 4 homeless shelters, a major soup kitchen, and no grocery store or pharmacies. Cutting those buses was cutting a major lifeline to people in my neighborhood, many of whom pay cash fare and cannot afford to constantly switch buses to get where they need to be. I bring this up at meeting after meeting and get the same BS responses every time. I understand that the routes that were eliminated were chosen because they're alternate ways of getting to downtown from outlying neighborhoods, but every time I ask, but what about Uptown? Amy Silberman sighs and says, well, yes, Uptown is unfortunate. Glad to know that we're unfortunate. What's not unfortunate, though, is that this problem can easily be remedied. Roll back the cuts made in October and bring the 61D and 71's A, C, and D back through Uptown. Bring us back our buses. Further, I encourage you to tread lightly in future plans to cut routes, especially when it comes to projects like the bus line redesign. People like me have built our lives around the current layout. I bought my house because, specifically, it was on all 8 bus lines, and I worry that there will be further harm done to disenfranchised communities if PRT doesn't listen to its ridership. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Michelle McMillan. Michelle online or?
In person. Your speakers.
Oh, okay. Is Michelle here? I don't think so, right? Okay. Moving on. Helen Hilitrux. I know I butchered that one. Okay, you can correct me. Just tell me how to say it properly. Please come up. Yes, please. I apologize for butchering your last name. Okay, but thank you very much for coming.
Good morning. My name is Helen Perilou for future reference.
That wasn't Cactus. As long as we all got how bad that was.
It's
Thank you.
tricky. It's okay.
Parallel. That was bad. Okay.
Yes, good morning. I'm a 16-year resident of the neighborhood of Uptown, like my neighbor who just spoke. I'm here also to request that you reinstate the service of the 61D, 71A, 71C, and 71D to Uptown. My family and my neighbors have been drastically affected by these cuts, which require transfers in Oakland to get to neighborhoods served by these buses, mostly in the East End. One reason we stayed in Uptown for so long is because it was so well served by the buses, despite having no other real amenities in the neighborhood. We still have to get to other neighborhoods for those things, but now we have to change buses to do so. My family's goal for last year was to have our kids start taking the bus to school. My kids, unlike most kids, do not have smartphones, and they'd have to use cash or use Connect cards. Connect cards seem to be only able to be refilled at scattered locations, and the payment methods for those and also for using any other smart device aren't options available to our family and aren't easy options. People paying cash, as you know, have to pay pretty much double for transfers. So it basically has made it unaffordable and inconvenient for our kids to use the bus. So they didn't use the bus to get to school last year. Well, that's a big inconvenience for us. These types of cuts are a major life problem for many other people. In our case, we had the option to use our car. Other neighbors don't have that option. They have to rely on friends or family or Uber or Lyft to get around. Most of our elderly neighbors are not comfortable taking Uber or Lyft. Plus, it's expensive. It's not very affordable. One of my neighbors used to go to bingo in the East End, and she doesn't go anymore because she doesn't want to transfer. She doesn't want to be standing in Oakland and trying to figure out the next bus. Another used to go to do laundry in the East End. Now they have to catch rides with others. So basically it falls upon their friends or their family to get them where they need to go. The decision to stay where we live was influenced by the ease of transit we used to have. Transit options affect a lot of people when they decide where to live. I know this because I work as a real estate agent, and I have clients who only consider homes in areas that are served by the buses that they need to get to things like work. When those services change, it diminishes their investment greatly, and it forces them to have to think about resorting to buying a vehicle. They're not likely to just move because you can't just move when you've just bought a house, but overall, this is the opposite of the effect that public transit is supposed to have. We request that you reinstate those services. Thank you.
Good morning. Hi. My name is Amy Zace. I live in the Beachview neighborhood. Many of you might already recognize me here because I realized coming over that I've been regularly attending these meetings and speaking for about a year now. I first want to welcome our new board members, and I hope that your leadership will continue to steer PRT in the direction of improvement and hopefully expansion. I'd also like to start with a little bit of praise in your continuing efforts to improve communications. In the past year, I've been using the TrueTime SMS alert service, and it's greatly improved. I still feel like it's an underutilized tool. I'm sure you all have data on who's using it or not, but I tell people about it all the time, and they usually don't know that it even exists. So I would encourage you to promote that service further. Regarding communications, I want to caution you for I guess, what materials are being available on the cars. I brought an example. I'll get to this later, but lately I've been riding the Blue Line because there's so many extra trains on there, and I've had a really poor experience with the shuttles. In my last 2 trips on the Blue Line, I saw this pamphlet, which is the Red Line schedule that's not active until August 31st, which is a little deceptive because it says effective June and not until you open it up. It's got a big page that says it's not effective till August 31st. The other thing I've seen on trains is this one, which it looks like is the trifold pamphlet that was maybe cut, but this says update as of May 30th. And the back is phase 3, and it shows Red Line service still in service. So this is just
You
completely
mind giving us?
inaccurate. Yeah, yeah.
And we can look it up here.
So if you could make like current information available about Red Line service and the replacement buses on the Blue Line trains, I think that would be really fantastic.
Diane, can you? We'll get these
Regarding,
back to you.
oh, yeah, yeah. I'll use it. Regarding the replacement buses, the 37 and the 42, I myself have experienced some bad issues when there was an additional detour over Mount Washington. I had one very, very bad day where I got completely passed by the 42 in downtown, and then later by the 37 in Mount Lebanon. And since then, I'll be honest, I haven't really been riding the shuttle, but my neighbor, Bernadette, uses a power chair, and she asked me what was going on one day because she was like, why are the buses not coming down here? And 2 days in a row, she was at the Belasco station to go inbound, and the 42 shuttle would come up and hit Shiras and then turn down Pauline, which means that they're missing every single stop in the heart of Beechview, which is crazy. And I was venting to my partner about it, and he drives a truck because he's a handyman. And he's like, you know what? I've seen the bus on Pauline. I never thought about that. So that's one thing. The 42 also, there's some operators which on the layover at Potomac.
No.
I know you guys moved the stop, and I appreciate your flexibility and willingness to, like tackle the issues. But the issue is that a lot of bus operators don't do their layover at Potomac Station. Instead, they go past the gas station. If you live down there, you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, it's the inbound part of Broadway where they do their layover, and then they just go straight out without looping around. So essentially they miss the origin stop completely. And I've had people complain to me about that several times. So I don't know what's going on with these operators, but they are literally skipping stops on routes that have only 6 stops. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy. We can give these back to you if you'd like.
Oh, yeah. I don't.
Oh, go ahead. It's fine. I don't know, the staff may want to look at them, so, but thank you. Thank you. Okay, our final speaker is Cheryl Stevens. Hi, Cheryl.
Good morning. I'm going to be reading some comments from Miss Michelle McMillan, who couldn't be here today, but asked me to read her letter. So I'll just begin right now. As a lifelong member of Allegheny County, born and raised in the Mon Valley in a beautiful town, now considered a borough, Duquesne, PA 15110, our main transportation was Port Authority. We were a proud community, and growing up in a steel town was truly special. To attend Duquesne, the school system throughout my entire education, was meaningful and greatly productive. Traveling through Allegheny County by bus was very productive for youth to see our beautiful communities and learn the highways and streets where family members, places of worship, and work employment were located. Our main source of transportation as a youth was the Port Authority. Over the years, which I am now 68 years old, I see a tremendous disrespect for all the communities that have been affected by your services. There is a total disrespect for the drivers as well as the residents, which has become mentally, physically, and emotionally draining. A serious condition that has affected the workforce, the educational structure, and mainly those families who are not drivers, has not been considered in the decisions to lessen or eliminate services. The disability community and senior elders are suffering tremendously. The buses in question are truly necessary for our communities. Routes through the Penn Hills, all of the 71s, A, B, C, D, and 83 Bedford services. Please restore services to continue downtown as well. This past Thursday, all of the 61Cs in downtown were not on schedule or showing up at all. I'm also part of PPT and a community transit member for 10 years and have seen our community suffer through air pollution, contaminated water, food shortage, housing crises, and so much more. Thank you for your time and consideration of this letter. Michelle D. McMillan.
That concludes our public comment for today, correct? Okay, I'd like to announce that the next regular meeting will be Friday, September 27th, 2024. And with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, thank you very much for participation today. Meeting's adjourned.